والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع نفوسنا أبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. والصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الصادقين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. My elders, brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today we enter into the third topic of subtopic of Wudhu, and let's continue. But before that, I want to address a few questions that was raised during the last session. One question that somebody asked was that if your face or hands are wet, then can you start performing the Wudhu? And the answer is that yes, you can, because the fact is that when you wash your face or your hands, the fact that you're washing, which means there's an overwhelming amount of water which you're applying on your face. So sometimes we have the habit that we want to, let's say if you're sweating, coming home from sweating, we come home, we wash our faces, then we want to perform Wudhu. So we don't know, do we have to wipe ourselves or what? So the answer is that it's okay, you can continue to wash, you can continue to perform Wudhu, because when you wash your face, then the overwhelming amount of water will make your Wudhu sahih. The second question came from the ladies, and that question was that if the lady has applied nail polish on from out of 5 fingers of the nails of the feet, 4 are applied with nail polish, only 1, the main toe, is not applied with, then is Wudhu sahih when you perform the masah. So the answer is that yes, because at least the main toe must be performed. When you perform the masah, at least you must start. 1 finger must be complete. So in the event that the toe is not nail polished, but the rest is okay, then of course for the ladies, then the masah becomes sahih. Please say salawat. Last time we discussed what is the way of performing the correct Wudhu. So can any one of you come and show everybody what is the correct way of performing Wudhu? Who will come? You want to do it? We don't have to be shy, they were men here. Okay, he's Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Now show everybody how is the correct way of performing Wudhu. What do you start first with? You wash your hands. Okay, after that? Right, you gargle your mouth 3 times. Okay, then your nose 3 times. Right? Okay, what's the next one? Okay, you put your water on your face. Alright, just show it again. Alright, you move downwards, okay? Alright, then after that, when you move, what do you move onto? Your right arm. Okay, you pour the water where? Where do you start from? The elbow, all the way down. Alright, and then you move on to the left arm. Okay? Once you've done that, okay, now wait. Do the masah again. Okay, when you're doing the masah, make sure it is this way. Alright? And then you perform the feet. Right? Only in the feet you can go from your ankle to your toe. Everywhere else you must perform the Wudhu. Please say one salawat ala Muhammad. I think somebody has a question here.
For the male has to start from the back.
Okay, this is one thing that's been clarified here, that in the event a male is performing Wudhu, then it is performed, you start taking the water and pour it from the back of your elbow. I think this must have for the ladies to perform it from the front of the elbow. I think that is very clear. Please say one salawat. We move on to the few other parts, and today I want to discuss the 2 parts. One is the Jabira Wudhu, which is the Wudhu on bandage. So a lot of times we come into a situation where we have either a plaster or a bandage, or a kind of a bandage which we have applied on our wound, and now we want to know what is the ruling as far as the Wudhu is concerned. So what I have here highlighted is in a table form, easy to understand. I've highlighted there are a lot of situations that can come across. I'll go through them one by one, starting with if you have a wound, a sore, or a fractured bone. Alright? Now, do you have a bandage? Let's say you do not have a bandage, it is just an open wound. Alright? and it is not harmful if you were to put water on top of it, then you must perform wuzu as normal. Alright? Now, the second part. If you have a wound or sore on your face or on your hands, remember now, it's whether it's your face or your hands. Why? Because these are the places where you will perform the washing. In that event, if it is not bandaged, but it is harmful for you to perform the wuzu, probably if the water when you put it would exaggerate the wound, for instance, then what you must do is you must wash the adjoining parts, which means the parts which are open, with the parts which you can perform the wuzu, you continue to perform the wuzu on those parts. And since, for example, let's take your hand. If you have a wound here and you're unable to put water on top of it, then you put a part clean cloth on top of it, and then you just wipe your hands over it. The other parts of the hand can be washed, but the part which is wound, you just wipe over it on the piece of cloth, and you continue the wuzu. The third scenario is if you have a fractured bone now. Here we're talking about a broken bone. Then, if it is not bandaged and it is harmful for water to reach that place, then you perform tayammum. Okay. We move on to the next situation where you have a wound, a sore, or a fracture. Where? On your front part of the head or on your feet, because these are the places where you perform the wiping act. In these places, if it is not bandaged, but it is harmful for water to reach on that places, then you perform tayammum. Okay? And you also, as a recommended precaution, you perform wuzu by putting the clean cloth on where the wound is, and you wipe over your wet hands and performing massage. Say if you're hurt here, and let's say it's the whole part of the head, you put a cloth and then just wipe your hands over it. Same thing on the feet as well. This act of performing the wiping over the cloth, or even now when I mentioned on the bandage, is called the jabira wuzu. Jabira means wet bandage or a splint or some piece of cloth that covers the thing. We move on to another situation where we have a wound, sore, or a broken bone on any part of the body. It is bandaged, but it is not harmful if you remove the bandage. Then you perform wuzu as normal. Because again, in the earlier scenario, we saw that if it is no bandage and there's no harm in reaching the water, then you perform wuzu as normal. So likewise here, if there's a bandage and you remove it, and same thing, there's no harm, then you perform wuzu as normal. But then, if you have a wound, sore, or broken bone on any part of the body, it is bandaged, but it is harmful if you remove the bandage, because maybe it would increase the soreness or increase the wound that is inflicted. Then you just wash the adjoining parts and the bandage that you have on top of your hand or your feet, and you just wipe over it. You wipe over it. Then comes to the situation where you have a wound, a sore, broken bone on any part of the body, but you have a bandage, but it cannot be removed. The previous instance, it can be removed, but in the second instance, for example, you have a plaster like that one, and it's not possible to remove it every time you perform wuzu. So what is the ruling? Then you have to understand that if it is not harmful for the water to reach the wound, then if the wound is sparked inside, you try to reach the water inside, if it is possible. If it is najis and you can try to wash it, then wash it, and then when time of wuzu, you try to make the water reach that part. But if you cannot reach it, especially if you have a very heavy, long plaster, you cannot reach the, let's say if it's the hand, your whole hand is plastered, you cannot reach, then what do? Then you perform tayammum. This is the next instance is if you have a wound or sore or broken bone on all parts. Suddenly you really had a bad accident and on all parts of your body you need to perform wuzu, are all bandaged. Then what do? If it is bandaged, whether it is harmful or not, then you perform tayammum. You also perform the jabira wuzu, both. And finally, you are surrounded in a situation you don't know what to do. You forgot, maybe. Then what do? You don't have access to information, maybe rulings, or you cannot consult somebody at that moment of time, and the namaz waqt is going. Then again, you have to do both. You perform tayammum, you also perform the jabira wuzu. Move on next. Now I want to discuss with you what is in the eyes of Imam Khomeini, what did he say about wuzu? Please say one salawat before we begin. Like I mentioned before, when I concluded our previous topic, that wuzu, when you look at the water, when you open the tap, remember that water that you use can be used for any purpose. But the moment that your intention is to use for that purpose of wuzu, then its spiritual essence changes. Now look at this beautiful thing what Imam Khomeini says. The first thing that he says is, when you take the water, open the tap, when you take the water, just look at the water. Just look at the clarity of the water, and then you tell yourself that if the water that I'm performing the wuzu with is that clear, then my heart also should be the same, must have the same clarity when I perform the wuzu and also before I stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He would say that every single day, 5 times a day, Muslims from all around the world, they come and perform wuzu. Wuzu, as we discussed in the spiritual essence, is to alleviate our sins. But he says that every time he looks at the water, he says a lot of Muslims around the world perform the wuzu, but after they're done with prayers, they go back to sinning. This is the sadness that he's expressing in himself. So he says that one should ask oneself that if the water is that clear for wuzu, then my heart also must be that clear before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My behavior with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala must be very clear. Then he says that everything in this world began with water. So we must remember that if everything began in this world with water, and if we are commencing the act of worship with water, then tell yourself that this is your new beginning. Make yourself understand that this is your new beginning. Just the way the earth began, here you are beginning. Because we come to the situation in our lives that we perform some ill deeds, overlook it. So at least let us try to remember, at least at the point of wuzu, that it is here to purify ourselves. Then he says, and he tells us, he says, look at the water again and think about it, that this water is a spring of Allah's mercy. This is a spring of Allah's mercy. So remember that when you're performing the wuzu, you are entering into the realm of Allah's mercy. This is the beauty about wuzu. Then he continues to say, Imam Khomeini, he says, look at the water again. Look at the water again. That water is taking you to a different level. Because after you perform wuzu and you start the salat, you are entering a spiritual level. So it is that wuzu, because without the wuzu, you will not be able to enter and perform the salat. So which means the essence of wuzu is so strong that it is going to carry you to a different level. You have not even started praying, but it is carrying you to that spiritual level. That's why it has even been seen that the wuzu itself is an act of worship. Not only namaz, but the act before namaz, which is the act of wuzu itself, is an act of worship. Then he says, look at the water again and try remembering the hadith of Rasulullah. What has Rasulullah said about water? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has said that a believer is like water, and he purifies the people around him. This is the hadith of the Rasulullah about the believers, that they are like water that purifies other people. So when you take the water from the tap, look at it and say that I'm performing this wuzu to purify my friends around me. So imagine if you do it and everybody does the same thing, how purified our mu'mineen are. Now before that, there's a reason why I've put that picture. Does anybody know what that picture is? This picture is the water festival that you see in Myanmar or Thailand. Some of us who have happened to be in Thailand or in Myanmar during the festival of water, you will notice, or rather you experience people throwing water at each other. You know why they do that? In their spiritual essence, that when they throw water on you, they are washing away your sins. We tend to laugh at them. But you see the spiritual essence that they carry? Islam is so beautiful that it is the wuzu itself. The wuzu itself, that when we purify ourselves, we are purifying our mu'mineen around us. That is how beautiful Islam is, that we have been given the wuzu to perform on ourselves, and the rest are purified. This is what is happening around the world. There's another wuzu, but there's another hadith about wuzu, which the Holy Prophet says, wuzu upon wuzu is like light upon light. Say you perform the wuzu for Maghrib. You perform Maghrib, you have finished praying namaz, let's say you went step out for a bit. You come back and you want to perform Isha prayers. You're already in the state of wuzu, but you want to perform wuzu again. When you perform wuzu again, then the Prophet says, it doesn't say that it is the same, no difference. He says it is light upon light. And he continues to say that if a person who renews his wuzu, even though nothing has happened to break it, then Allah, the Noble in the Quran, will forgive his sins even without the person asking for forgiveness. You see how beautiful that is? You have not even done istighfar, but Allah is forgiving you simply because you have done wuzu over wuzu. How beautiful this hadith is, and we must always remember that when we look at the water. Finally, Imam Khomeini says, look at the water and just know that this water which is going to clean your body now, tell yourself that I want to now clean my soul, my nafs, because I am going to stand before somebody who is the all authority, and hence my soul must be clean. Continue. Then he would say that there is no point of me washing my body parts if my heart is not clean. If by performing wuzu my heart does not become clean, then there is no point for me doing wuzu. Why? Because if my heart is with envy, my heart is with anger, my heart is with the pride and all the other diseases of the soul, then there is no point. Because the purpose of wuzu itself is to purify your soul. So this is the essence that we must remember every time that we perform the wuzu. Then he will say that look at Amirul Mu'mineen. Say salam. Say when Amirul Mu'mineen would pick up the water, he would know that the clarity of the water, with the clarity of the water, he knows how clear he must be before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He would know that the water that he's about to perform the wuzu is the spring of Allah's mercy. So he will have mercy upon his creatures. This is the lesson that we must learn from our Aimah. This is how the essence of wuzu, the strength of wuzu is. There's so many benefits, medical and spiritual, which is for discussion for a different time. But this is so nice that we have in our daily life. We perform 5 times a day, or even more than that if we want to perform. But this is something beautiful that we have, that Islam has blessed with us. Please recite one salawat. Now it comes to the part of purifying ourselves. What are the du'as that we perform? Why do we perform the acts, each act, from the start we're washing from the niyyat time all the way right to the masa? What are these acts? Why do we do these acts? What is the dua and what is the meaning of the dua? And we understand how essence. And these duas have been taught by our first Imam Amirul Mu'mineen. He says, first we must start with the niyyah. When we start with the niyyah, he says, we should say, I begin in the name of Allah. Of course, your niyyah can be anything. Niyyah is what your heart says, but these are the recommended ones. I begin in the name of Allah and only for Allah. All praise belongs to Allah who has made water pure and not impure. This is the niyyah that we must do. That here we are standing here before to perform the wuzu. We are praising Allah because He has created that water which is clear and clear. Because you cannot do wuzu with the water that is not clear. Yeah? If it has sand or if it has got some kind of impurities, no, you cannot perform. That is that water which is clear, which we must praise Allah for it. Please move on to the next slide. Then he continues, we will be washing our hands. This is again the Mustahab act. What is the recommended dua is? Again, I begin in the name of Allah and only for Allah. Oh Allah, place me amongst those who ask forgiveness and place me amongst those who purify themselves. When we are washing ourselves, we are taking this water into our hands, we are asking Allah to forgive us. Forgive us when? In this dunya. Why? For the akhirah. So, when we ask for forgiveness, we are asking for purity of our soul. Because we want to, on the day of judgment, to be as a pure soul before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then we move on to the next part, the rinsing of the mouth. What does the Imam Ali say in the dua that he asks us to recite? Enable me to answer correctly on the day of judgment, because it is our mouth that we'll use to answer, right? Before saying before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he says, answer me correctly on the day of Qiyamah, and that my tongue should offer praise to only Him. That's why we rinse our mouth. We do it 3 times for Mus'haf. Then we move on to the nose. What does he say? Do not make the fragrance of paradise forbidden for me. Which means when you rinse your nose, you're asking Allah to make sure that He allows the scent of paradise, the perfume of paradise, to reach to reach you. That you should not be among those who are not able to smell or be refreshed by the scent of Jannah. Then we go on to the wajib part, which is first washing of the face. In the washing of the face, what they say? Oh Allah, increase the nur on my face, brighten my face on the day of judgment, when all the other faces will be darkened. And do not darken my face on the day when all the faces will be brightened. Here it's saying that the reason why we wash our face is because we want to be among those where nur shines on our faces, and not among those whose faces will be darkened on the day of reckoning. Then he moves on to the washing of the right arm. What does it say? Ya Allah, place the book of my deeds where? On my right hand, and a permanent stay of paradise on my left, and make my reckoning an easy one. See the essence of starting with the right hand. You want your good deeds, your account, your surplus to be on your right hand. Then he moves on to the left arm. What does it say? And do not, again here he's specifying, not only does he say that place the book of deeds on my right hand, he says do not place the deeds on my left hand, because you do not want to be among those who are on the left, and make again my day of reckoning an easy one. He also says that do not place the books even behind me, and do not make it hang around my neck. It is the right hand that must be the one. Of course, also to protect him from the fire. Then we move on to the masah, the wiping of the head. What is the dua? It says, Allah, cover me with your mercy, your blessings and your pardon, because you're going to be bowing down in front of Allah. That is why when we perform the masah, this is the dua that we must recite. Cover me with your blessings. Finally, when we perform the feet, the masah of the feet, what is the dua? It says, keep me firm on a bridge when all the others would be slipping from the bridge and falling into hell. Please protect me. Let my feet not be among those whose feet will be slipped. And help my efforts to perform the acts which please you, O the glorious, the mighty. Beautiful du'as taught by our A'immah Masumi. We do not have to remember the whole entire dua. It would be lovely if you remember the whole entire dua. But even the first liners, like, oh Allah, brighten my face when you're washing the face. Oh Allah, please have the book of my deeds on my right hand and not on my left hand. Simple, straight du'as you can recite in even your own language. Of course, Arabic is a beautiful language, and you can always take it up as you move along. If you've noticed, on the Wudhu section, I have now placed on both ladies section and the gents section these du'as. And I hope, inshallah, that we can at least gaze our sight on it. If not, at least just remember. And if you forget, just recite salawat. Please recite one love salawat. Before I move on to the next slide, there is one thing that is a bit mysterious. Maybe some of us do not know, and which is the ring of Dur-e-Najaf. Dur-e-Najaf, as we all know, is from Najaf al-Ashraf. Now this stone can only be found in Najaf. What is this stone? I came across one of these hadiths which mentions that this Dur-e-Najaf that we have and a lot of us wear on the ring is actually the water that trickles after the performing of the wuzu of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Those water turn into stones, and that is the Dur-e-Najaf that is here. In fact, this is the narration quoting from Amali of Sheikh Sadduq. It is said that, based on the following riwayat, that whatever stone that the Prophet told Imam Ali, listen to this carefully, the Prophet told Imam Ali that whatever stone Imam Ali walks on becomes Dur-e-Najaf. Whatever stone that he walks on, the stone of Najaf al-Ashraf, and is infused with healing energy. This is what has been expressed. Now, healing, of course, could be any form of ailments. The Prophet once said to Imam Ali, if there had not been the risk of people idolizing him, that is Imam Ali, the way the Christians worship Prophet Isa, because Prophet Isa, of course, we know is human, he was a prophet, but people took him as a person to worship upon, to call upon. If the Holy Prophet said that if there was no risk, if people's mentality was able to understand that Imam Ali is a human, he is an Imam, he is not Allah, so we cannot position him as into idol worship, because then it becomes a shirk. What did he say? If it was not for that case, he would have made public people known the merits of Imam Ali so much, and he would make the people use the soil under your feet, which is under Imam Ali's feet, and would under your feet to cure the ailments, and the water from the remainder of Wudhu. This is the riwayat which mentions, which is possibly the story, or rather the origin of this Dur al-Najaf. And the reason why it's only found in Najaf al-Ashraf is because these were the water that trickled up after Imam Ali performed the Wudhu. Please say salawat. Now I don't know if anybody can tell me what this is. An automatic Wudhu machine. Now it is so unbelievable. When I was doing some of my research, I was like, came across this thing and I was like so amazed that I tried to look at it and think about it. What are these Western ideologists trying to prove? All of you went down to Iran, yeah? The young, what did Imam Khamenei say? Or Imam even President Ahmadinejad, both of them, what did they say? Do not be influenced by these Western ideologies. You see, these Western ideologies are coming here to corrupt our mind, coming up with this kind of machines trying to so-called make life easy for us. But brothers and sisters, I'll tell you, Sunnat al-Nabi is from the beginning, from the time it is a Sunnat until the day of Qiyamah, it must be followed the same way. You do not have new ways of praying namaz. You do not have new ways of fasting. You know?
Where is this?
Sorry? I do not know whether it is Saudi Arabia or not, but there are a few of the pictures which I did not put there, but it even shows how to perform the wuzu. So it's amazing, but the reason why I put it up here is just to let all of you know that look, brothers and sisters, this is what is going on in the world. But we must not let ourselves be influenced by all these Western ideologies. We must perform wuzu correctly, just the way our Holy Prophet had asked us to perform, and the Imam Masumin had also shown to all the people around them after the Holy Prophet. Please recite one last salawat. I leave the floor to ask any questions. You can ask even about the Jabir Wuzu. Some of you might have some questions. Please feel free. Ladies section, if you have any questions, and while the gents are questioning, then please write it on a piece of note and send it down. If it's not sufficient time, then please do write in either by email or on a piece of paper. Inshallah, I will reply in the next wuzu. If I open the crowd for any questions. Yes?
When doing Jabira wuzu, it says that whether if you're doing putting water on the wound is harmful or not. Harmful does it mean that it will burn or something? Or does harmful mean that the wound will become worse?
Yes, if it's going to exaggerate the wound.
But if it's burning a lot, is it still possible?
It's how you classify what is harmful to you.
Okay, to your own
Yes, yes. What is harmful to you? If it's going to exaggerate the wound, if it's something that is unbearable, if it's unbearable, because Allah says, right, La yukallifullahu nafsan illa wus'aha, that is, He would not put any burden that which you cannot handle. So if something that you cannot handle, then you do not. Any other questions? Somebody maybe you want to share some comments, maybe experiences that you have come across. Please feel free. Maybe our younger brothers, you understand? I hope I was not fast. Any other questions? I hope then the message has been clear. Inshallah, I hope I can touch the last topic next Thursday, which will be on the merits of wuzu. Both medical benefits and of course spiritual benefits. And we can then conclude the topic of wuzu, move on to the other parts of Azan, Iqamah, and of course Salah. If no questions, then please recite one loud salawat. Yes, you have a question.
Like I asked last week, what we are doing down.
Yes. As you see in the dua which you recited, if you can just go down. You're asking why do you perform the wuzu in the nose? Because you're asking Allah that He can let you smell the scent of paradise. Because that is the ultimate place that we want to go, right? You want to go to paradise? So you want to go. You want to smell the paradise, right? You want to be attracted to the paradise. So when we rinse our nose, it's mustahab. But when we rinse our nose, then we are of course asking Allah that to create the refreshment and to create the smell that will reach us. Again, you'll notice some of there are some acts which are to perform mustahab. Some of them are wajib, and you will see from the meaning why the difference it is. Why there is a difference in the acts that you perform the mustahab and why you perform it wajib. Because the wajib acts, if you notice, are very unique, and it is what you're asking from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like for example, when you're rinsing your mouth, what are you doing? You're asking Allah that your mouth to praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Does Allah need your praise? No. Allah is not in need. It is we want to do it. We want to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. See? But when you perform the act of washing your face, you're asking Allah to brighten because you want Allah to brighten you. When you're washing your hands, you want the book of deeds in your hand. See? When you want to when you're rinsing your nose, you want to smell the scent of paradise. That is the Muslim act. But when you look at the wajib act, when you're performing the masa of the feet, you want to walk on the pool of sirat without slipping. Since you are entering, you would be given the eventual place in Jannah. You will smell. So this is the wajib parts. The unique Muslim parts are actually what that we want. Right?
I just remember, we go to some places whereby the place to perform wuzu, there is like something where you can sit on. Can we too sit and perform wuzu?
It doesn't matter that whether you sit, you stand. The idea is, remember, sometimes when you're performing the seat, like for example, if you go to the mosque around here,
Yes.
and you're sitting there, and you expose your legs to water, because when you're performing the water falls on your feet. So what you do is simply, when you're done, just wipe behind your feet, so that when you perform the masa, the wetness of your hands is overwhelmingly more than what is the water on your feet.
Okay, is there any limitation of water quantity to make wuzu?
There is a riwayat that says that it must be around 750 milliliters. Now I don't know anybody would actually measure before performing the wuzu,
It must
but
be.
that is the guideline. Not must. That is the recommended. Recommended
Because I asked this question because of wasting of water.
that is correct. The reason sometimes people waste water. That's why when you open the tap, make sure you trickle down the water. Not to say trickle, but make sure it's sufficient for you that you're able to perform the wuzu. You don't leave the thing and just let it running.
Okay, while we making wuzu, can we close the tap water?
Yes, okay. Now this question, the parts that you are washing, no problem. But when it comes to the masa, like I discussed last week, when you're performing the masa after you have washed your left arm, then what you do? Once you pour the water on your left arm, the elbow, you close the tap first. Then you wash, then you perform the wiping. You do not wash the thing, then with your right hand you close. Or with your left hand you close. No, why? Because there is already water on the tap earlier. You see? So then it is not permissible, because the wiping of the head and the feet must be done with the same wetness of the hands when you perform the wuzu.
Before touching anything.
Before touching. And as I mentioned, that if you do not have space, you continue stroking your arm until you reach a space of comfort, and then in the same position you do the masa of the head and the masa of the feet. You cannot be walking, you cannot do masa of the head here, then move to the feet here. You're not able to do that.
What is the satisfactory level to make a masa?
The satisfactory level is either use your one finger or three fingers. It must be on the front part of the head, not at the back of the head, and it must not touch the wetness of your face. When you perform the washing of the face, the water, the guideline is the hairline. But sometimes when you wash it, of course it touches the hair. When you perform the masa of the head, then you must make sure that it does not touch the wetness of the face.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Conditions for the water, for the wuzu water would be here. So I would like to add that the first three details that when we wash the hand, we can to check the density of the water whether we can perform the wuzu. While again we can check that there is no taste. So if there is taste, we cannot do the wuzu. And while cleaning the nose, we can smell it. So there is no smell, so then we can perform the wuzu.
That is a beautiful analogy of how we want to understand whether the water is the correct water for wuzu or not. This is why it's mustahab that you first wash your hands. You gargle. When you gargle, you'll be able to taste whether the wuzu is correct for use or not. When you rinse the water in your nose, you will know whether the smell, if there's a smell, if there's an odor, then which is to know whether it is correct for use of wuzu or not. This is beautiful. It's very good. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Any other questions?
Can you please be more clear about the nail paint or the nail polish?
Okay, the question earlier that the ladies had sent was some of the, out of the 5 fingers of the feet, the toe, they skip, they don't put the nail polish. The rest they put nail polish. Then when you perform the masah, is it sahih? The minimum guideline is that at least the toe, you should be able to perform the wuzu. from the toe. So if the toe is revealed, there is no nail polish on it, then your wuzu also already becomes sahih.
So you can have nail polish on your nails in the hands?
Yes, on the
No,
on the hands it's not possible, because on the hands the water must reach all the parts. In masa it should be at least 1 finger. In the hands, no. Creams that have moisture that are water based is okay, but oil based, no. You have to remove first.
So if somebody have a jet,
Oil based or water based. And again, if you have gel, but if you're able to reach the skin of your head, and you have yaqeen that the gel is not really, by now you must have dried off or taken off because of the heat, you're sweating all the time.
it should not form a surface on your head so that the water stops reaching your head.
Yes,
that's the main condition over there. It should not form a surface.
Yes, that's right. Like for instance, when you perform putting oil on your hair, right? If it leaves a surface that you're not able to reach the water of wuzu on it, then of course you have to get rid of
I
it.
mean, you feel the coldness of the skin when you touching the water, that is okay.
Any other questions? I hope it has been an interesting journey through the wuzu from the spiritual essence until today on the du'as of wuzu. Inshallah, we'll conclude with the quick last question before we conclude.
If we're doing the wuzu with the hands, this hand we have to touch the tap.
Yes, after you put the water on your left arm,
No, this part of the hand must be touched with the tap.
not all the time. Once you put the water, then you put the water.
Because I get confused a bit, so that's why I'm asking.
No problem. We clear your confusion. And
We touch the tap or we just let it?
you take the water, you put on your elbow. You've put your on the elbow. Now there's water running, right? Now you close the tap. Then you start to wipe. You don't wipe as in you stroke. You must be convinced, must have yaqeen that all the parts of the hands are wet. Okay, I think we have come to an end. And again, if the ladies have any questions and you would like to raise it, please put it down. I will inshallah answer it in the next lecture. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa alihi.